Immediately, her husband stepped into the bathroom. Favor sprang into action. She grabbed her phone, opened his briefcase, took her international passport, stuffed a few Naira notes into her bag, and slipped out of the room. The moment she reached the front door, she ran. Her ride was already waiting outside. "Please, go now," she cried as she jumped into the car. This is African Folktales with Nsinem. Listen to Favor's story. Favor was the second child of a family of 5. She had 2 sisters and 2 brothers. Looking from the outside, she was blessed. Her father was a pastor, and he was also a pharmacist at a big pharmaceutical company. She went to the best of schools, wore the best of clothes, and was well fed. But she was like a bird in a cage. Her parents looked like the ideal parents, and most of her friends wanted to be her. They had a driver that drove them to school and back. They had a maid, but Favor was always unhappy. I am sure you're wondering what could make a little girl that was so sheltered and taken care of to be unhappy. Well, it was her father. Pastor Femi used his words every day to slice Favor's confidence day by day. She couldn't seem to say or do anything right. Correcting her was his favorite sport, and it would end with tears. Favor's mother, Bimbo, who was having a very difficult marriage, would turn a blind eye. If Favor's father was not at work or in church, his favorite pastime was making Favor's life miserable. He even planted rivalry among the siblings. If Favor complained that her younger ones disrespected her, he would stare her in the face and say coldly, "You are not the easiest person to get along with." And because he said it, they believed it. The disrespect grew. The loneliness deepened. So Favor turned to the only escape she knew, television. That was where she discovered love, marriage, fairy tale endings. And from that moment, she longed for her own Prince Charming, a man who would finally love her the way her family never did. She searched long and hard, but while her friends paired off with their partners, one sentence kept echoing in her mind, her father's voice, sharp and unforgiving. "You have a terrible character." Favor didn't realize how deep her emotional wounds were until someone touched them. She was returning from a lecture one afternoon when she met Sylvester. He was calm, polite, and soft-spoken. As he walked her to the bus stop, they talked, and for the first time in a long while, she felt seen. Then he asked for her number. She gave it to him, and that was her first mistake. Sylvester, or Sly as his friends called him, was everything Favor thought she needed. He was gentle, patient, kind. For the first time in her life, she enjoyed being spoken to nicely by a man. He was generous too, even though he didn't have much. He had just gotten a job as a lab scientist at a big medical laboratory. When he proposed, Favor was overjoyed. One day, Sly took her to go visit one of his friends. Sly wouldn't stop singing his praises. He told Favor how Sly one day backed him from the roadside up a hilly road when he broke his knee. Favor beamed with joy. Alas, she had bagged herself a kind man, or an intentional man like the online community say. But Favor was going to learn that people have different personas and they choose how and when they display it. One day, the day Favor would never forget, Favor took Sly to introduce to her parents. Favor's father felt so comfortable with Sly. They gisted away like old friends. Favor's mother, Bimbo, kept observing Sly. After Sly had gone, Bimbo called her daughter aside and begged her not to marry Sly. "Why?" a very distraught Favor asked. "There is something about him. He has dead eyes," Bimbo had said. Favor could not be swayed. If her mother couldn't give her a genuine reason, she was not going to live with the one man that had loved her. More so, Favor was pregnant for Sly. They eventually got married, and another phase of Favor's life started. Sly, who had been living with his parents, had just gotten his own place just before the marriage. So they both started from the bottom. They had a mattress on the floor, a few pots and plates, but Favor was just happy to be with Sly. All she needed was a shoulder to lean on, but she quickly learned it was the wrong shoulder. Overnight, Sly became very aggressive. Every argument was suddenly an opportunity to entertain the neighbors, because Sly would scream at the top of his voice. Favor was in shock. She couldn't reconcile the man she had dated with the man she was married to. They seemed to be two different people.
It felt like déjà vu. Sly became difficult to please. 2 months into the marriage, Favor took ill.
The morning sickness and the dizziness didn't help. That night, when Sly came home and asked for dinner, Favor apologized for not cooking and explained that she had been very weak all day because she had been throwing up. Sly simply left the house and came back hours after and went straight to bed. The following morning, he went out again without saying a word to her. It was a neighbor who had heard Favor vomiting all day that had brought some chicken soup to Favor to take in order to keep up her strength. For 4 days, Sly ate outside, and for the 4 days, Favor was being tended to by the neighbor. The neighbor was an older woman that had 4 children, so she knew how to help Favor. One day, the woman who had brought some food to Favor sat with her while she ate. Beside her was a bucket which the woman kept in case Favor needed to vomit. Favor, I will start by saying that there are no perfect marriages or perfect husbands, but it is important you put yourself first, even as a married woman. It is not selfishness, it is self-preservation, the woman said. Favor noticed that whenever she and Sly go out together, people that knew him would tell her how lucky she was to marry Sly. He is just a calm and kind man. My dear, you're so lucky, they would chorus. Favor herself couldn't understand where the loving Sly had gone. 6 months into their marriage, he brought 2 of his siblings to come live with them, and when she told him that it was too early for in-laws to live with them, Sly completely lost it. He told everyone that cared to listen that Favor didn't like his people. Then he started having strong opinions about her friends. It is not wise to hang around unmarried people, he drummed into her ears. Slowly but surely, he started alienating her from people. Then one day, he lost his temper and slapped her. Favor was shocked that Sly could do a thing like that. That night, before he came home, a very pregnant Favor had gone back to her parents. I'm sure you can guess the reception she got at home. Oh yes, it wasn't a good one.
Her father told her to her face that she should check herself. What did you do for him to slap you? He said. Favor couldn't believe it. She blinked a couple of times, hoping it was some sort of nightmare. Her father went on and on. He made her stay there unbearable. You think Sly is like me, that tolerates your mother, he one day said. You can't keep packing your bags and leaving your home over little disputes, Femi screamed. Favor couldn't believe her own father was twisting the sword that was already piercing her heart. Sly came to the house, and in front of her parents, he recounted all the things Favor had done to offend him. Essentially, the slap was all her fault. When Favor's mother Bimbo tried to point out that there was no excuse for violence, Femi told his wife to shut up in front of his son-in-law. It was decided that Favor was to go back to Sly, and so she did. Sly didn't change, no he didn't. Favor just learned to walk better on the eggshells Sly had turned their home into. If he said anything and she responded, he would tag it talking back. Life became unbearable for Favor. The escape she thought her marriage was slowly turning another cage. The difference was the captor, her captor, was no longer her father, but her husband. But just like her father, Sly had a system. He would show her a little bit of kindness, and then his ugly side would pop up. Then a little niceness, and the cycle continued. Favor put to birth a cute baby boy, and Sly was happy. But the breaking point was waiting in the future, not so far away. It had happened on the day she and Sly visited the mall together. They had finished shopping and were on their way out when a young man walked up to them and greeted Sly. They seemed to have known each other for some time and had lost touch. Immediately, Sly introduced Favor as his wife. The man showered her with compliments. Wow, Sly, your wife is so beautiful. How were you able to catch such a beauty? How did you convince her? The man said. Sly seemed to enjoy the compliments. His friend was praising his wife. But when they got home, a monster emerged. He accused Favor of dressing in a seductive manner. Is this how men throw themselves at you? Imagine how that man was looking at your body, even in my presence, Sly yelled.
Favor was shocked at what was coming out of her husband's mouth. Sly, what are you saying? Favor asked, completely shocked how a day that started beautifully had completely switched into one where accusations were flying up and down. Sly, are you trying to accuse me of something? Before she could complete the sentence, a slap landed on Favor's cheeks. So you now talk back at me? Do you forget I am the man? A very furious Sly said. And before Favor could recover from the slap, Sly packed all her clothes outside and set them on fire. He told her that if she dared to retrieve any of the clothes, she would instantly regret it. Favor stood
and watched all her clothes get burnt. Favor's heart pounded like a drum, fear and anger twisting inside her. She could feel the years of doubt, humiliation, and silence converging in this single moment. No more, she told herself. She had been invisible for too long, first to her father, now to her husband. Her hands shook, but her mind was clear. Every cruel word, every slap, every burnt shirt, it was a signal. She could continue living under someone else's control, or she could reclaim her life. And right there, she chose herself. That evening, Favor took a painful decision. She carried the few things she could and left. By the time Sly came out and realized Favor had left the house, it was too late. He couldn't find her. Favor had left without the baby, and that angered Sly and Favor's father.
Bimbo asked her son-in-law, "What did you do to her?" Femi didn't let his son-in-law say a word. What reason is good enough for her to abandon her child and run? If you are enjoying this story, do give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and share this story with your loved ones that would enjoy it. Back to the story. Favor, who was safe at her aunt's house, had told her everything that had happened. When she had reached out to her aunt while Sly was burning her clothes,
she had asked her if she could visit, and her aunt happily invited her to come over.
Favor was both afraid and angry. She really needed to leave and clear her head. Watching Sly burn her clothes had been the last straw. After recounting her experiences to her aunt, the older lady couldn't believe what her niece had been going through. Favor had taken the night bus from Port Harcourt to Lagos. Do you think it was wrong of Favor to abandon her child and run? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. She later told her parents where she was, and of course her father insisted she come back home.
Her aunt insisted she undergo therapy first before deciding what to do next.
Sly went on social media, making videos and telling everyone that his wife abandoned her child with him because of a little disagreement. The internet in-laws had different opinions. People asked him what he did, saying that a sensible woman never runs away from a good man. Some turned the situation into a joke, telling them to enjoy being a single father. Some people were of the opinion that the woman was a flirt and was going to be with another man.
Favor continued her therapy sessions. Subsequently, she learned she had suffered from serious emotional abuse and had chosen a man with similar traits like her father, without knowing. Favor learned the slow and long process of self-love. Sly was able to come to a custody arrangement with Favor. Her road to recovery was still long, but she learned a deep truth. She didn't need anyone's permission to love and accept herself just the way she was. She went through a lot of unlearning, learning, and relearning. In the quiet of her aunt's apartment, Favor began to learn what it meant to listen to herself. Therapy was difficult. Some days she felt like she was peeling away layers of pain she didn't even know were there. But with every session, every small revelation, a sense of peace began to grow. She learned to set boundaries without guilt, to recognize red flags in relationships, and to celebrate the tiny victories. A day without anxiety, a confident no, a moment of laughter with her son. Slowly, she discovered a truth she had never known. She didn't need anyone's approval to love herself. Each step forward was a testament to her resilience. And though the journey was long, for the first time in her life, Favor could see herself, truly see herself, and it was enough. Favor was no longer looking for love from anyone. She learned to love herself, just as she was, flaws and all. Though she would eventually open her heart to love again, for now, she was wholly focused on herself. Do share your thoughts about Favor's journey with me in the comments. No one has the right to diminish your worth, not even those you love. True strength comes from recognizing abuse, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself, even when it feels impossible. Self-love is not selfish, it is survival. Click on this story on the screen to watch another intriguing African tale from me. See you there.